Hey everyone, it's Johnny, your independent Scentsy consultant. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about fragrance feedback part 2. This will be the Goose Creek edition version. So, a lot of you have been asking for me to do kind of like a thoughts on Goose Creek waxes. I had a couple hauls of them. I didn't really get a chance to worm them as readily as I wanted to, and finally I got through a healthy amount. So, more than a dozen so that we can talk about them and I can give you kind of my impressions. So if you don't want to stick around and go through the different scents that are going to be in this video, long story short, I really like Goose Creek. They're not quite as expensive as Scentsy, price per package, but that's relatively speaking. So Scentsy's wax is also another ounce bigger than Goose Creek. So if we're comparing apples to apples on sheer volume of wax, Scentsy's about 3.2 ounces, I believe, per bar, whereas Goose Creek is 2.1 ounces. So Goose Creek tends to be about $4 a clamshell if you're not including any discounts. Scentsy tends to be $6. So if you do the math, comparably, Goose Creek and Scentsy are about tit for tat in terms of price point. So, you know, because if you got 3.2 ounces of Goose Creek, that would essentially bump you up to the same price as Scentsy is per ounce. So I would consider them more of a premium fragrance line than maybe your bargain priced choices that you might find at a department store. But similar to Scentsy, you do, at least in my experience with all of these, you do get what you pay for. And they perform quite well. So in a nutshell, they all perform quite strongly, or they last quite long. Some of the scents are a little lighter, some are a little stronger, depending on the scent notes. But consistently across the board, regardless of the type of warmer I warm them in, they perform particularly well, just kind of like Scentsy does for me. So in that regard, I would say I really enjoy them. I also really enjoy a lot of their scent combos. They seem to do really well in having scents that, while there's going to always be overlap between different companies, I feel like they fill in certain gaps that Scentsy doesn't, and I feel like Scentsy fills in gaps that they don't. So they're very complementary in terms of companies and what they offer in terms of fragrance performance. So, with that being said, if you want to stick around and go through the individual ones that I went through, we're going to do that right now. If not, basically, long story short, I think Goose Creek is worth it. And I think they're on point with quality with Scentsy. So, here we go. White Pine Lake. This is a aquatic, floral, tree, sort of cologne-y scent. And it's strong. It reminds me, if you remember the old scent Winter Cypress from Scentsy, it's very similar to that. It's not quite the same. There's a little bit more of a floral quality to this, I feel like, but there's that, I want to say even like a vetiver note in here that I pick up on that kind of reminds me of the Winter Cypress. It's a long-lasting, lasts all day, doesn't lose any steam throughout the day in terms of performance, and you know, you really fill up the space, and it's kind of a fresh yet woodsy aquatic scent. So there is that one. Next we have Calm and Cozy. Now I don't have all the scent notes in front of me for these. This is similar to the name, Calm and Cozy. So you get sort of a woody undertone. There's a little bit of like a cashmere note to this, kind of like that cozy fabric fleece vibe. You do have an undertone of a woodsy quality. It's not particularly powdery, but you do get a little bit of that muskiness. So think of like curling up with a blanket on a couch near a fireplace, minus the smoke and fireplace scent. It's just that cozy sort of vibes fragrance. And it lasts very long. It lasts all day. There might be like even a leaf note to this to give a little bit more of that depth of fragrance throw. But very nice, great, any room sort of scent. Maybe not bathroom, but I guess you could use it there too. All right. Peppermint Mocha Milkshake. This is divine. If you missed out on Peppermint Dreams from Scentsy when it was for the Bring Back My Bar, or even in previous iterations, this is pretty darn close to that. It's not a dupe. There are some notes to this. It's a little bit more pepperminty, And a little bit more mocha rather than just straight up chocolate, brownie sort of vibe. But this one is very similar. So if you loved Peppermint Dreams and missed out, like I said, this is the one to hunt for. And I guess there's numbers on here too. I don't know if that has to do with the actual batch or that's just the number on the moniker. But anyways, I was going to give you like more fancy notes to figure it out, but just look for this one and see if you can find it. It's basically along the same theme. And it performs all day. Again, does not lose steam. I've been overall really impressed with the performance of these. Some of them kind of start to teeter a little bit near the end of the day, but most of them will plow through the whole day just fine. All right, next we have Butter Cookie. This is, imagine like a warm sugar cookie with a lot more butter on it. So less on the sugar note, but if you had like Scentsy sugar cookie scent and you added more of a butter note. Now, butter notes can be notorious for being a little bit too cloying or gourmand or artificial. This one delicately balances that fine line between being very buttery and still not quite dipping into the artificial butter popcorn sort of land that some scents fall victim to. It's close, so you do get a richness to this that you will get from that butter scent, but it is not just like, oh, straight up artificial butter. And so I don't know if I'm necessarily like in love with this scent, but if you're looking for a richer cookie scent, this definitely does fit the bill. All right, next we have Jingle Bells. If you're familiar with Silver Bells from Scentsy, this is very similar. You get that sort of sweet, minty, vanilla, like a little bit of caramel and like a crispness that, I don't know if there's a pear in this one, but very similar sort of scent throw and performance and profile to Silver Bells from Scentsy. Maybe a little bit more minty, but almost a dupe on that sense, and I love it. All right, next we have Eggnog Icing. Now this is interesting. So when I first thought this, I thought, oh, it's going to be basically just a sweet, sugary scent. You do get an eggnog note, but it's almost more like the eggnog on the cupcake itself, like the eggnog icing on the cupcake, rather than just eggnog icing. You do get a very, very large amount of like a cupcake note to this. And it kind of grounds that scent. So if you're worried, this is almost more on like the pastry bread vibes than it is on the sweet icing, creamy frosting vibes. So take that for what you will, but it's definitely a unique take on it. So you really smell more of the cupcake than the topping on the cupcake. Would I go out of my way and be like, oh my God, that's eggnog? Not necessarily. It kind of is a little bit more like eggnog adjacent than straight up eggnog. But I don't mind that, honestly. I think it gives it a less pungent sort of approach to this type of scent. All right. Next, we have Balsam Fur. I'm not going to talk much about this one because it's basically a lot of balsam and a bunch of fur. And it's long-lasting and strong, and I'm starting to realize that maybe I don't like balsam scents as much as I thought I did. Maybe balsam has been the problem with other scents. Like a little balsam goes a long way for me, it turns out. Yeah, but that is what it is. It is straight up tree scent, and it is strong. All right, next we have Frozen in Time. This is an interesting one. So this gives me, and I don't have the scent notes in front of me, but I get mint, like fresh mint. I get an icy cool tone to this. I almost get a little bit of like a eucalyptus vibe. I get like a citrusy sort of zest, maybe like a lemon note or something along that line that gives a brightness. It's just a really nice, a little bit herbal, almost not quite medicinal. It's more like herbal fresh rather than herbal medicinal. Very like room freshening and brightening. It's like a crisp winter day where you want that freshness still that you normally find in like a summer sort of scent or spring scent, but you want it in that more of like wintry notation, although this could be a very good year-round scent, to be very honest with you. But if you like that sort of fresh, minty, zesty sort of vibe, this is a great one for that. Again, no performance issues. Wildberry and Waffles. This is just like what it sounds like. You smell waffles, and you smell, it's a little bit like a hint of a burnt or toasted note to the waffle, but it's like a fresh waffle out of the waffle iron, topped with like some berry compote, fresh berries, like a berry, maybe, you know, like glaze, whatever they do, where they make it like all fancy and they add like some sugar to it and everything else. So it is kind of a sweet berry scent on top of the waffle note, but it is, again, fairly accurate. Now, this one I wasn't particularly fond of personally. Compared to some of the other ones, it was just okay, but again, it did live up to its moniker for the duration of it, and it performed quite surprisingly throughout the day. Like, usually berry or fruity scents tend to kind of fizzle about mid to 2/3 way through the day, and that one was just like chugging through it. So next we have Marshmallow Red Velvet. This is like a chocolatey marshmallow cake, and that's really what it is. It's like if you cut into a chocolate cake or a red velvet cake, but it has like marshmallow frosting on it or something, something to lighten it up. That's basically what it is. Or marshmallow hot cocoa. It also gives me that kind of vibe, because you do get like a cocoa powder sort of note to this. But it's delicious, and it was a nice change. I don't usually warm a lot of chocolatey scents. The closest thing that I can think of that I think is discontinuing from Scentsy right now is Hug in a Mug. But that's more of like a dough vibe rather than like cocoa powder. So this is like a softer tone to that. Next we have Gingerbread Men. Again, I wasn't super fond of this one overall, but it is very much gingerbread, and it's like a gingerbread spice. And it's like those really yummy gingerbread, like crispy cookies that you like ice and then you dip in your milk or whatever, and then it crunches when you bite into them. That's what I had picture with this, like a ginger snap almost. Very much gingerbread, not a whole lot of anything else. So I know the picture has like eggnog and other things in the background, but it's basically you're just sticking your nose into fresh made gingerbread cookies. All right, next we have Dutch Stroop Waffle. This is, it's a very, I feel like it's slightly more accurate than Scentsy's Stroop Waffle Delight, which I love, don't get me wrong. It's like one of my ride or die scents. But that one is like fresh dough and fresh butter and fresh, you know, ingredients. You know, it's a bakery scent, but it's not necessarily distinctly a real Stroop waffle. This is more accurate. You get more of the caramel note. You get more of like the waffle cone sort of vibe, the crisp on the Stroop waffle. It's more accurate, I think, to the actual Stroop waffles, which I finally tried, in terms of scent and what I would expect from eating the one. I just don't know that if I personally would want my house to smell fully like that. But I feel like it is one of the more accurate ones that I have smelled. All right, next we have Wildest Dreams. This is like a cozy woodland scent with like leaves, maybe like an oak moss note. It's like a woodsy with a hint of earthiness, like that oak moss, maybe even an amber in here. More on the masculine side, almost borderline cologne scent. I would wear it as a cologne. Actually, I think I have a cologne that smells similar to this. That's probably why I like it. But it's not super strong. So it performs fine, but it's not gonna like knock you out of the house. Some cologne scents are just too strong. This one is delicate enough that you can sense that it's there, but it's not like overwhelming. All right, next we have warm donut sugar, and that's what this is. This is a freshly made donut that is coated or shaken in cinnamon sugar, like you would get at an apple cider mill. And that's all it is. It is really good. You do get the dough note in this. It does, I will say this one didn't last quite as long as some of the other ones did. I think this is more of a like closer to a half-day performer than necessarily the full day. And it kind of like started to teeter. but it's a really nice scent. And that's coming from someone who's usually not a bakery fanatic. Like, this was just the right nice blend without being too much. Next, we have Marshmallow Snow Cream. Love this one. Bet you can guess what this smells like. Marshmallows and cream and a little bit of vanilla. So think of like marshmallow mint, but no mint. Or think of the Jelly Belly toasted marshmallow scent, which didn't really have the same, like, Scentsy had 2 different toasted marshmallow scents. There's like the toasted marshmallow, which is Scentsy's, and then there was Jelly Belly's version of toasted marshmallow. And this is more like the Jelly Belly one, where it's the lighter, less caramel, if any caramel at all, non-toasted vanilla marshmallow sort of scent. It's beautiful, it's room-filling, it's not nauseating, and it's a really nice, balanced vanilla marshmallow scent. I have a couple extras of these. I really liked it. And I would definitely get it again. Next, Let's Stay Home. This is another one of those cozy scents. This one gives me a little bit of like floor cleaner though. There's like a weird lemony note to this or something that just doesn't sit right with me. Like, you get like the cozy, like, oh, there's an undertone of wood and there's like a musk note or a cashmere or flannel. And then there's like this weird lemon zest note of some sort. Or lime, maybe even. Bergamot, perhaps. And I don't like it. I feel like that one note throws off the rest of the scent for me. And to be fair, they have a lot of, like, let's stay home, cuddle up, snuggle together, something in cuddle kisses, whatever. There's a lot in their line that tend to be on that sort of, like, homey, cozy, cashmere-y, fabric-y, woodsy sort of notes. So I get it. You need to start differentiating because otherwise you're just like relabeling the same scent with a different label. But I don't know that the choice they made with this one really does it for me. And it almost bothered me while it was warming. Not to the point where like vomiting or nausea or anything like that, but it was like, oh, can that just kind of go away and the rest of the scent be there? So keep that in mind. This was one that I'm not particularly as fond of, but it still performed well. All right, next we have Sweet Banana Bread, and I have to say, this is the closest banana bread that comes to being authentic in scent to me, and isn't artificial banana laden, and it also is just adjacent to a cupcake scent. It's not quite like what I remember my grandmother's banana cupcakes to smell like, because this is a bread, not a cupcake. It says banana bread, but because it's a sweet banana bread, it's getting adjacent to it. So it's not quite as cloying. You get more of the bread tone, but it's still sweet. I don't know what their particular formulation for or oil that they pick for banana is, or how they craft it, but this one to me is far more authentic than the ones that Scentsy has released so far, like banana nut bread, banana berry, bananarama. Those are all okay, but to a degree, they're kind of almost comically artificial at times, at different points in their warming or smelling. This one is distinctively less banana and more bread, but it actually works out, because I don't feel annoyed by the banana, and it almost makes me wanting more. It's like, oh, the banana is in the bread. It's not just bread notes and then they threw in a banana scent. So, highly recommend this to try if you can still find it. It's a great scent if you're looking for a more authentic banana sort of toned scent. Next, we have Sugar Plum Kiss, and this is basically like Scentsy's Dancing Sugar Plums without all the extra spice that they threw into Dancing Sugar Plums. And therefore I like this better. It's almost like this is the sugar plum scent that is basically just sugar plums. And maybe a little extra musk to it, or a little bit of like sugar, spun sugar, to kind of like broaden the depth of the scent. Maybe a hint of amber in this as well. This is a perfumey, sort of romantic scent. It's kind of like if you took Dancing Sugar Plums and Polar Bear Hug, which was formerly Eskimo Kiss, and kind of blended those together and took out the extra cinnamon sugar spice nonsense from dancing sugar plums, and you took out some of the extra stuff happening in oh my gosh, Polar Bear Hugs. That's what you'd get out of this. This is just a really nice sugar plum scent with maybe amber. It's deep, rich, and I love it. So, last one we have out of this collection. I have plenty more Goose Creek to warm, but this is the last one in this particular round. Was Apple Cider Ice Cream. Now this one, this is interesting. I find this scent fascinating. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I assumed based on how fairly accurate they are with across the board that this one was going to quite literally smell like apple cider ice cream, and it does. So you get an apple cider note that is mellowed out by a creamy, rich ice cream. It is not distinctively like vanilla ice cream or anything like it. It's just ice cream with an apple cider note above it. And as it mellows out, so the beginning of the warming, you get a lot of the apples or apple cider notes. By the end of the warming, it's mostly the rich, creamy ice cream with lingering hints of the apple cider. It's such an interesting scent. I really enjoy it, and I think it's very unique compared to a lot of scents that I've smelled. Like, I have yet to have found an apple cider ice cream-esque scent, and so I give them like a gold star just for that unique combination right there. So if you can get your hands on it, I would try it. It's a very unique scent in that sense. Ha ha ha, a lot of scent in that sentence. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. But yeah, overall, very impressed with Goose Creek. Can definitely say I recommend them. I would love for them to release more things. I mean, I would love for them to send me some things to review. That would be like the dream one day. But in the meantime, as they release more products, I will try to hunt for a good sale. They don't have a lot of sales on their wax melts in general. And when they do, they're kind of like 24 hours only flash sale, look out, run. So beware that you will probably end up paying full price for the most part for these if you're hunting for them in a pinch. And that their shipping is not unreasonable. I think it's similar to Scentsy's kind of general pricing. Shipping right now is outrageous. Even like I went to ship like a little box to a friend of mine, and I was like, my gosh, the shipping is almost more than what I'm shipping to them it's worth. So keep that in mind when we, I don't like paying for extra costs, shipping, taxes, but they're a necessary thing. Like, I want my product to arrive safely and packaged, not just wrapped up in tissue paper and thrown in a box and hope for the best. So keep in mind, shipping is maybe cost one or two worth of these, similar to like shipping in Scentsy, but as a whole, I think they're worth it. They last really well, and depending on your warming habits, if you're not warming as avidly or daily as me and switching them out like a fiend, these may last you as long as some of the other Scentsy ones that last days and days and days. So keep that in mind. I enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you got some good ideas on what I feel about this particular brand. And let me know if you've warmed any of these or if you intend on trying any of them. That being said, I will see you in our next segment of this. I think we'll focus on the Scentsy stuff next because there's a bunch of that. And I will see you in that fragrance feedback. Take care, guys. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. Bye.